Did you want to share your screen again?
Okay. So this is this data, by the way, came from a contest that the Skywatcher magazine or whatever had, and this is the linear RGB master that I've got here right now that I was trying to stretch using your software, using your script.
Right.
And
so
I haven't had any luck doing it. I'm not quite sure what to do. I, haven't completely read all of your write-up on it.
Well, this is a great example to see what's going on. So you can see out your histogram that all your data is on the far left-hand side.
Right.
Right, or a lot of your data is on the far, and that's probably contains your subject matter and your background, and then there's probably stars in there that are probably scattered at a low level inside the histogram. So if you click on that show log histogram button,
yeah,
so there's the rest of your stars sort of scattered through, so that really exaggerates the low pixel count numbers on your histogram.
okay.
So there's a lot of stars there, and I would dare say this image is a little bit underexposed because you still have some unused dynamic range on the right hand side of the histogram that's not being fully used. So I would have exposed these a little more, right? But that's fine. That's just a comment. But if you go back, unclick that show log histogram, right? And if you move that zoom button, crank it all the way to the right, and you start to pull out, there's your histogram of your data, right?
Yeah.
And if you go down to the sliders, you've got stretch factor there, and you've got local stretch intensity there, and you've got a symmetry point there, right? So what you want to go is click on a spot just to the right of your peak on your zoomed in histogram. So click on the histogram itself, just to the right of the peak.
Just up here?
Or anywhere, but just to the right of the peak, a little bit closer. So that's 0.0005, call it. So go in that symmetry point and type in that 0.005. Here's where Martin doesn't like typing in very small numbers. So type in 0.005.
Okay.
Or 0.005.
Or just put a 5 in there.
Yeah, and then hit enter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now go to that B slider and slide it to the right to somewhere between 8 and 10. It's almost all the way to the right. Okay.
Okay.
Leave it there.
Okay.
Now go to the D slider, the stretch factor, and slowly move it to the right, and you'll see your new histogram start moving to the right. So it's showing what's doing to the histogram.
Yeah.
Now you have to go up to the zoom button up at the top, the zoom, and either slide that to the left, or you can click that little X next to it and it'll take it all the way to the left. Just slide it back to 0 zoom again. Just take it all the way to the left. Yeah, perfect. Now go back to the D slider and pull it further to the right. And you'll start to see your histogram come into view again.
Yeah.
Way to the left. Keep going. somewhere you want it between like 0.2 and 0.25 or something like that in general. So keep sliding it to the right. Right. Okay. Okay. That's probably a good spot.
Oh, okay.
So you have
yeah,
to realize this isn't the histogram you will get. This is an estimate of the histogram. It's the transformed histogram, which is why it looks so blocky.
okay.
Right. So you can, at this stage, you can go see what it looks like, say as a test. Since you've got the create new image on execution, I would go click that little image that's right next to your target view.
Sorry.
So there's a little box, a little icon.
Oh, right there?
Yeah, click on that guy.
Okay.
And that's basically your original image. But if you go to the bottom right and click on preview stretch.
Oh, okay.
It should show you what you got. So that's what it's giving you as an initial stretch.
Oh, okay.
So you can exit out of here again. And then click the little checkbox on the lower right, and it'll actually perform it on your image, and it'll actually create a new image.
You mean this one here?
Yeah.
On the lower left. Okay.
Yeah. So that's what basically your first stretch has done.
Okay.
So there's still some, if you click on the lower right, you'll reset everything, and because it wants to perform another stretch on your screen there, and you can see the histogram gets thrown all the way to the right. You don't want that. So just reset. And that's the histogram that you've got. So at this stage, I usually say, I click off that create new image on execution.
On this one here?
Below the target image. No, you've got a checkbox that says create new image.
Okay. Yes.
But it doesn't really matter. So now you set up to do your fine adjustments of your stretch at this stage. So I can show you a couple of bits of that if you exit out of here, exit out of this screen, back to the other one.
Yeah.
Now, so move D to about 1 or 2 or something.
Move the which, sorry?
The D slider again.
Okay.
Move it to about 1 or 2 or something. So you can see that that's going to move basically in brightness. But you see that red line? That's the actual function. That's the actual transform that you're applying. So just leave the D factor there for a second.
Okay.
And I'm going to show you how these sliders work. B is basically the amount of focus that you're going to place on your stretch. So if you slide B back and forth, you can see what it does to the function. It sort of concentrates it at that 0 point. It gets steeper at 0.
Yeah.
Right? So move it partway back. You can leave it there, right? Just leave it there, and then move down to the symmetry point and start to move that. And what you'll see is that's the actual point of focus of the stretch. So you put SP right where you want to add contrast in your image, right? And if you want a lot of focused contrast added at a certain point, then you use a high B factor. And that's what we did on your initial stretch.
Okay.
But now we're doing a gentle stretch. So, a B less than, you wouldn't use a B greater than 5 for a final stretch. But that's how you control that. So you can leave that SP point right there. And let's just talk a little bit about the last two for a second and let you know how those work. So you see there's a highlight protection point, and that really has two purposes. One, it does what it says. It protects your highlight. And it does that by stealing contrast away from the rest of the image. So if it starts at 1, if you move it slightly to the left,
Which one is that?
the bottom one, the highlight protection point.
Okay, yeah.
Start to move that slightly to the left gradually, and you'll see that it starts taking contrast away from the rest of the image, putting it near the top of the image, but it's also pushing the stretch, the brightness down. So you can actually control how much brightness you're adding to the overall image by sliding that back and forth. For example, you slide it a little bit more so that the red line's over the y = x line. Keep going a little bit more. You see that, and stop there. That's not going to stretch the right-hand side of the image past 0.35. It's not going to do anything with that data.
Okay.
So the brighter part of your image, in that case, would be left alone, but your dark point would be brought down. So if you do that again and just leave it there, right? And let's say you well, bring it back up just a tad so we don't darken. Yeah, that's good. And now crank up your D a little bit. So what you're doing there, okay, that's good. That's good. That's probably a little bit too much, but that's okay. It makes the point that essentially you're moving the black point, but you're not clipping the data. You're just compressing the data. So it's very different from the traditional. This will also do you see that black point down there? It'll also do a black point. But if you click the check mark here, you will see what that does to your data. So it'll make the background darker, right?
Yeah.
But we've got we've probably stretched. It was probably a little aggressive on brightening some of that green stuff on the right-hand side of the image, right? So, if you don't like it, you can exit out. But if you didn't click that create new image, you could just undo the image because you created a new one. So if you go click on the down arrow on the target view, you can pull up your
right here.
Left. No.
Oh, create new image.
See your target view? There's a pull down. Yeah, click on that. And click on the GHS image because we don't like this one, right? So go back an image.
Oh, okay.
Right? And now you can make an adjustment. So you can use the preview screen, or you can just undo if you don't create a new image, or just select your old image. But it's hard to direct you what to do over your image here, but you get a sense of how much stretch you're applying where. If you move that LP point, if you can get out of this screen again, that LP number does the exact opposite of the HP number. So if you move your HP slider back all the way to the right again, or part way to the right.
The HP, okay.
Yeah, so move that to the right. Okay, that's enough. That's way too much actually, but that's good. Leave it there. Leave it there.
Okay.
Right, and now move your LP. Start to move your LP to the right. You see that starts taking contrast away from the image and raises the whole stretch, brightens the whole image. So by using these sliders, you control the whole stretch, and you can do it much more accurately than a curve freehand with spline interpolation, right? You can also move your individual colors back and forth if you like, if you want to, in a certain area, highlight a certain color or something. But at this stage, I would to fix this image, I would move your symmetry point a little bit to the right. Yeah, move that a little bit to the right because we were getting that green background. You want that entire histogram peak to go quite a bit darker. So take that LP slider and move it back one down and move it all the way to the left. Yeah, we like that, hiding that stuff. It depends on whether you want the background showing or not in your image. So it's really up to you what you do. You probably want to lower the stretch factor quite a bit from 2.7. You probably want to drop that down to 1, the D.
This
Up.
the symmetry point?
The stretch factor.
Oh, okay. Okay, yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Right. Okay, whoa. A bit more than that. Yeah, that's good. That's good. So now you can sort of look at your image. I would actually move the symmetry point a little bit more to the right there. Up, move a little bit more to the right. More still. Okay, a little back now. A little back. You want to catch that. Okay, that's good. That's good. That's good. And then move your highlight point a little bit to the right so that we stretch that blue part up a bit more. Yeah, whoa. Back a little bit. Yeah, that's good. That's good. And then click on that icon that gives you the preview again. So click on the preview stretch. And so that's giving you a much better sort of, it's adding contrast in your image. You can see that background is still fairly prominent, but you can actually hover over the image itself, put your cursor over the image. Or I'm worried about that stripe on the right-hand side. Yeah. Just click somewhere in it to the right of that line. So you can see it's got a red value before the stretch of, you know, around 0.2. Right? Its value.
Yeah. Okay.
In the box in the upper left, it says before and after.
Yeah.
So you've dimmed that from about 0.2 a little bit to maybe 0.18 around, right?
Yeah.
So you can exit this screen now. I like that. So click check mark so it performs that stretch. Right? And now you want that symmetry point around, you want to make it somewhere to the right of 0.18, so it shrinks that band to the right. So you probably want it at 0.2 or something, or maybe 0.24 or something like that. That's good. That's good. Right?
Okay.
Now we don't want to stretch it very much, so I would first of all, I bring that high point back to the left, and that will push the whole stretch down, because we don't want to affect the bright parts so much. So try and put it right on that y equals x line. We're close to it. Yeah, whoa. Yeah. Now back a bit. No, you're going too far. Try and put it over. Do you see the y equals x line, the diagonal line?
Yeah.
On the graph, try and place the red line on the diagonal line. Whoa. Yeah. Okay, there you are. And let's add a little bit of B and D to that, so really shrinks that background and gets it out of the way.
So what are we doing now?
So increase B just maybe to 2.
Oh, the B.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. You want to push that histogram further to the left to get rid of that gradient. Well, I suggest you try and get rid of the gradient before we stretch, but let's try and get rid of it with the stretch. Yeah, that should be good. And just click do, and you'll see that go further back into the background, right? Right?
Yeah.
So then let's say you're done now. You can click the X at the bottom. So just say yes for now. So what this records is the settings you used on each of those stretch going forward. So if you want to apply that same stretch again, or you want to modify it slightly, or you want to go back to your step, you know how to get from your linear right to where you want to be.
So I can also save this.
So,
and then
you
I
can save that. It saves it just in the text file.
Can that import into your dialog as well?
No, not at this stage.
Okay.
But it does a couple other magical things. But like, you can cancel here. We're not going to save it, right? Well, unless you want to save it.
No, that's okay.
So just say close. Now, if you open the script once again,
Where am I? How do I get to it here?
under script,
Oh, there.
utilities. Well, there you go. So if you just go down to the stretch type, pull down. Yeah, so just click, and I'll just tell you what the options are in there. No, go up one to the, yeah, there's a drop down where it says generalized hyperbolic stretch.
Yeah, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, so in there you can also do the histogram transformation. So that's the same equation that Pixinsight uses for its histogram transformation.
Yeah.
There's the arc sine stretch. You can, so click on the arc sine stretch if you like, and then move your, you see that B's blocked out because it's not a, all you get to change is the stretch factor in the arc sine stretch. So if you move the arc sine stretch, you can see what its function actually looks like. You can actually do the equivalent in the general hyperbolic stretch. There's nothing special or magic about the arc sine stretch. Move the D factor just to the right. Just so that's what the arc sine stretch looks like, if you're curious. But while the B factor is moved out, you can get, like I said, you can get the same thing. You do have the symmetry point, the LP and the HP functionality in this script that the arc sine doesn't have in the Pixinsight script. But if you go to the pull down again, if you go to the pull down and click inverted general hyperbolic stretch right at the bottom. So if you took that script, that little, if you had saved that in your file, you could print it out or look at it on a notepad or some text editor, and you could enter those parameters and perform that inverted general hyperbolic stretch, and it will take your stretched image right back to the original linear.
Okay.
So it's completely invertible. So where this could come in handy is if you had a camera that was nonlinear, say, and it took systematically was nonlinear in some form, you could take an image of a linear object or of something with the full dynamic range. You could calibrate your camera by stretching it to match stretching your linear image to match that. And then you could make your camera's data linear by doing the inverted stretch on it. So what you could essentially do is use a nonlinear camera to do photometry or radiometry or that sort of thing on a science basis. And that's part of the beauty of the math of these equations, which may be of interest. It might not be of interest at all, but depending on what you're doing with your data.
Well, you've given me enough to keep me busy for a few days now playing with this.
But thanks for bringing it up, Ron, because I didn't even know what this image was when we started out. I can see it's the Helix Nebula now, but
yeah. Anyway, that's great. Thank you very much.
hopefully that's